Hey guys, my name is Gian Alexer Tagimakruz, and I'm gonna be your professor for this subject, Philippine regional cuisine. Okay. Um. First of all, I know life has been really tough. Uh, we both know that we haven't really completely recovered from COVID, and then the typhoon really hit us hard. This affected us hard. But anyways, the important thing is that we're still breathing. We're still fighting for life. Okay, as what they say, there's always a rainbow after the rain. But when there is darkness, there comes a light. So let's fight our way to that light. Okay, guys. All right. So in this chapter, we're gonna be talking about um somehow in an introduction of what Philippine cuisine is about. Uh, uh, Philippine regional cuisine is about. So some an overview or the influences that we had through the years. So that's what we're gonna talk about in this chapter. Mhm. So after the goal of these or the objectives for this topic is to acquire knowledge in culinary arts of the Philippines in its region, appreciate the art of preparing the Philippine food, relate significance of food and its influences, compare similarities and differences of Philippine cuisine with other countries. Okay, so let's start. So, Philippine cuisine. The first thing that we're gonna talk about are the somehow characteristics of Filipino food or the Filipinos. Spice packed. When we say spice packed, daghan kayo mga lamas, diba? Spice packed. Daghan of flavors, flavor rich ang atong mga pagkaon. So kung saan na atong ipangsagol. And the most common taste that we always look for when we eat food is we always look for sweet, sour, and salty. So these are the three things that we always look for when we eat something, but mostly sweet and salty. So, right? And the second one is influenced by other countries' occupation. So, dili trabaho sa country ha, country's occupation, dili trabaho ni country, but because of our history, that we were occupied by different countries, and somehow we gained knowledge on their ways of preparing food, and then we until to this date we are still using some of those methods. Okay. For its third, it's ever changing because until now we're still developing new dishes out of the combinations of the different cuisines, different cuisines because of the different influences that we've had over the years. It's still changing. Okay, it is unique. Why is it unique? Because of, like, again, we had a lot of influences from other countries that made our cuisine unique because some of our cuisines are combined or binded together. Different cuisine from this country and cuisine from a different country, we merge them together in order to create something new. Okay, so these are the characteristics of the Filipino food, Filipino cuisine. Let's go to our influences from the Austronesians. So, well, like I said, Philippines is a land of diversity in which history and present mix, offering a great variety of cultures, languages, and food. Style of cooking is influenced by Austronesian origins to mixed cuisines influenced by other countries. So, what do we mean by Austronesians? So, Austronesians are people coming from the Southeast Asia who spoke the Austronesian languages. So, these are Taiwanese, Aborigines, East Timorese, Indonesians, and Malaysians. So they were the first one to be off track to our history nga naka-influence sa ato ang methods of cooking or ato ang cuisine. Okay? Um, like yeah, pre-Hispanic. When we say pre-Hispanic, that is before the Spanish came here. Before the Spanish came here. So before the Spanish came here, we already had three methods of cooking. That is boiling, steaming, and roasting. Okay, so those are the three methods of cooking before the Spaniards came here. Now let's go to the next slide. So pre-Hispanic, the ingredients for common dishes were obtained from locally raised livestock. So before the Spaniards came here, we already know about raising livestock or having a livestock as a source, as the source of our food. The Filipinos already had water buffaloes, chicken, pigs, and various kinds of fishes. Okay, so they already had that before the Spaniards came here. And then when the Austronesians from the southern China and Taiwan settled the region, they brought with them the knowledge of rice cultivation and other farming practices. So always remember that the influence, the major influence we got rice from are from the Chinese and the Taiwanese. So they were the ones who taught us how to cultivate rice and other farming practices, which increased the number and variety of edible dish ingredients available for cooking. Okay, that's it. Now let's go to the Chinese influences. The direct trade and cultural exchange of Hokkien China in the Philippines in the Song Dynasty, with porcelain, ceramics, and silk being traded for spices and tripang in Luzon. Okay, so porcelain, ceramics, and silk are products that we make here in the Philippines. We make these products, and um, before they don't have money, they don't have value for money. So that the only thing they do in order to possess that product is through trading. And what we traded for spices and tripang are porcelain, ceramics, and silk. So what is tripang? Tripang is a sea cucumber. So that's what tripang is. Okay, and then China introduced a number of staple food into Filipino cuisine, notably toyo, soy sauce, tokwa, togi, and patis fish sauce, as well as the method of stir frying in making savory soup bases. So it was the Chinese also that introduced us to stir frying in making savory soup bases. Yeah, I don't know if before the Chinese came here, if the Filipinos already know how to make soups, because like they already had the method of cooking. They already know how to boil, diba? So maybe perhaps when they boil carne or a meat, I don't know. It's just a guess. So we don't really we don't really have an idea of we don't really know for sure of what happened. But anyways, let's continue. Now, many of these food items and dishes retain their original name, like pancit, shumai, and lumpia. Okay, so these are from China. Hmm? The noodle shops, pancitterias, and can be seen in dishes like arroz caldo and sinangag or fried rice. So these foods actually, guys, are food for the laborers. These were the food for the laborers before in China, and then they introduced this to the Philippines, and then Philippines is still, and now Philippines are is still having this kind of dishes in our culture, right? Now, let's go to the Indian influences. Rice-based delicacies such as bibingka, puto, and puto bongbong. Even though the Chinese are the ones who introduced us into a rice cultivation, it was the Indian who influenced us to make bibingka and puto bongbong. And then they are also the ones who influenced us into making kare-kare. So they were our influencers in making kare-kare. And also achara, pickles. So they were the ones who introduced pickles to us for achara. Hey, Japanese influences, the very famous halo halo, can be traced back to the pre-Hispanic, pre-war Japanese kakigori class of desserts. So halo halo it belongs to the kakigori class of desserts from Japan. So it was the Japanese who introduced us to halo halo. It's not completely halo halo yung name, but halo halo yung name because it was, I think that it was a Filipino who named that the dish, but it's not really halo halo. The name before it's not really halo halo. But the reason nga gisagol-sagol ang mga ingredients mo ng different ingredients mo ng halo-halo yung pangalan. Diba? Okay. Now let's go to the Spanish influences. The Spanish influences caters 80% of our cuisine. That's basically correct because it was the Spaniards who stayed in the Philippines for the longest duration of time. Okay, so we learned a lot from them. So we learned a lot from them. So Spanish ruled both Mexico and Philippines. So that's why Mexicans and Filipinos look alike, right? And they also have somehow the same food, the Mexicans and Filipinos, because it was the Spaniards who are in control of Mexico before, and the two were inevitably connected, and they transported various goods between the two colonies. Chili peppers, chocolate, corn, potatoes, tomatoes, pineapples, bell peppers, chayote, avocado, peanuts, anato, and the method of sauteing with garlic and onions. We all got these products from from the Spaniards. Sauteing with garlic and onions. Although stir frying, it was already introduced by the Chinese, but um, sauteing with garlic and onions is what it was the Spanish who taught us how to saute with garlic and onions. And then the Mexicans received rice, sugarcane, tamarind, coconuts, and mangoes from the Philippine soil. So we were the exporters of rice, sugarcane, tamarind, coconuts, and mangoes before to the Mexicans. Arroz a la Valenciana, chorizo, and morcon, still from Spanish. So arroz a la Valenciana. So what is that? Arroz a la Valenciana is kung sa Chinese pa mura siyang chow fan. Mura siyang chow fan nga mura siyang chow fan. Pero yellow yung color. You research that in the internet. You can see arroz a la Valenciana. It's like a chow fan. Like it's really like a chow fan. Fried rice. Uh, but it's not fried. Chorizo morcon. And also lechon. Diba? It's not really indicated. It's not really indicated. Wait for a moment. Okay, so including lechon. I mean, um, Spaniards are the ones who who named that lechon, but it wasn't really the Spaniards who taught us how to make lechon because to think of it, diba, we already have mastered the three cooking methods pre-Hispanic. the three cooking methods before even the Spaniards arrived here in the Philippines. We already know how to steam, we already know how to boil, and we already know how to roast. And the sources of food before are the sources of the Filipinos. The sources of food of the Filipinos before were coming from livestock. So when we say livestock, it includes pigs, the carabaos, the chickens, and the fishes. So Filipinos were already roasting pigs even before the Spaniards came here, but it was the Spaniards who named the process lechon. But it was the Filipinos were already doing that before. Yeah. And did you know, guys, that during the Spanish colonialization, it was the time when we were taught how to use spoons and spoons and fork, because in that when the Spanish arrived, we were using our bare hands to eat our food, and then that's why they taught us how to use a spoon and fork. But Spanish use fork and knife, right? But during that time, we weren't allowed to use knives, or Spanish are afraid to give Filipinos anything that could actually kill a person, because during that time, revolution, it's still at its peak, diba? So we weren't taught how to use um weren't taught how to use knives. So that's why we use our a spoon to cut meat. Yeah, we use spoon to cut the meat of the cooked meat on our plate. We use the spoon instead of using knives. But anyways, we still use hands in eating. I mean, it's just the natural way of life. It's just the natural way of eating, and I think it's better to eat like that. Diba? Okay. Now let's go to the American influences. So this is actually great. This I think the Americans brought us the best food. I mean, hot dogs, hamburgers, fried chicken, and ice cream. They're one of the best food that Filipinos could ever eat. Any time of the day, diba? Any time of the day, we eat those kinds of food. It's just so delicious, and we are very thankful for them, Americans, for influencing or introducing those kinds of food to us. They also introduced convenient foods such as spam, corned beef, instant coffee, and evaporated milk. Right? So these are highlights of their influences, but we're gonna talk about more in the next topic. Okay. Now, Philippines today, it still continues to evolve as new techniques and styles of cooking and ingredients find their way into the country. It is true because until now we're still being influenced by different kinds of cuisines, like the Korean bistros are now bistros are now here in the Philippines also. That's actually, I think that's Chinese or Thai, something like that. Diba? Indian food is also prevailing in the country, and many others. But we're still enriching our culture with this new influences from other countries. Okay, but traditional dishes, both simple and elaborate, indigenous and foreign influence, are seen as are more current popular international dishes and fast food fare. Like Philippine diet is higher in total fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol than other Asian diets. So hooray to Filipinos for eating a lot, for eating those kinds of uh, food, for eating those food enriched with fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol. I mean, we just love to eat oily food, fried. We always eat fried foods, right? Fried chicken, uh, crispy pata, diba? And those are lechon. Those are full of saturated fat and cholesterol. But anyways, they're delicious, and that's the most important thing. Okay, Philippines today, traditional. Yeah, hmm we have a lot of those already. So that's gonna be um, our topic for this week. Um, for the next week topic, we're gonna talk about the timeline of the influences that we had from other countries. Okay, so that's gonna be our topic next week, and I hope you've learned something from this lesson, guys. And always keep safe. Take care of yourselves. See you soon, and God bless.